Alright, let's get into it. So, the first genre is my favorite genre, and it is romance. This was hands down the easiest movie to pick. It's my recommendation basically anytime anyone asks me for a recommendation, and that is the movie About Time. This is one that is so dear to me. I absolutely adore it. Think of a Hugh Grant type romance movie with all of his bumbling awkwardness, but make him even more genuine, slightly a bit more awkward, and add on that he can time travel, but only into his own timeline, only his own past. So he can't, make any big historical changes or anything. And this premise sounds very weird. It sounds like, it's just not going to work, but somehow it does. It has the most unrealistic story to it because he can time travel, but somehow it is the most down to earth and realistic love story that I have ever seen portrayed in a movie. It makes me really laugh, it makes me cringe, it makes, in a good way though, secondhand embarrassment, and it makes me absolutely bawl my eyes out. I don't think a movie has ever made me cry as hard as About Time makes me cry. And every time I end the movie, I walk away feeling so much more inspired for life. I feel like I have a new view. His ending monologue is incredible. Whenever I'm feeling down and I just need a little pick-me-up, I watch the ending scene on YouTube because that's how much I love it. It is so great. It's not only about, romance between two characters falling in love, but there's also such great connections between the family members and friendship and everything. So it has romance, it has friendship, it has familial love, it has everything that you could want in a movie, plus time travel. So it's incredible. I do plan on making a longer video about it just because it's just that good. It deserves its own movie video, so keep an eye out for that. Okay, moving on to the next genre, and that is coming of age film, which is one of my personal favorite movie genres. So the movie that I picked for this is The Way, Way Back, and this was actually my favorite movie for a long time when I was in middle school and part of high school. I used to recommend it to people all the time. If you haven't seen it, I really recommend it. It's a very easy movie to watch. It doesn't take a lot of, brain power to get through it. It stars Steve Carell, Toni Collette, Anna Sophia Robb, and some other incredible people. And it's crazy seeing Steve Carell in this role because he plays a really mean guy, and that's so unlike any of the other characters he's played before, but he does it very well. It's about, I think he's 14, so a young teenage boy going to spend the summer with his mom and his mom's new boyfriend, who he really hates, in a beach town, and he is a very awkward boy. This movie really gives me secondhand embarrassment, so if you cannot handle secondhand embarrassment, I'm not sure if this is the movie for you, but I promise if you can get through it, it's worth it. So he's very awkward and he has a hard time making friends. He doesn't get along with his mom's new boyfriend, so he gets a job at the local water park and he really comes into his own. He meets a great group of people and there's a little bit of romance, but mainly it's about how he kind of comes out of his shell, and it's really great. It's another movie that has more than one overall emotion, so it's not just, comedy. It also has some really heart-wrenching moments. It has some very sad moments, but it also has some very sweet moments, some awkward moments, but overall it's a really great movie if you just want something easy and fun to watch. Alright, moving on to my historical film recommendation. Obviously, there are so many great ones. I love Pride and Prejudice, I love Little Women, all those types of films, but the one that I decided to recommend is one that I don't hear too many people talk about, and that is the movie Brooklyn. It stars Saoirse Ronan, Domhnall Gleeson again, and some other great people. It follows the story of a young girl in Ireland who decides to move to America in the early 1900s, I believe. To get a better life for herself. She moves to Brooklyn. She has to leave her family behind in Ireland, and it's very hard for her, and she really struggles when she first arrives in New York with fitting in, making friends, just feeling at home in a completely new city, like across the world from everything she's used to. And eventually she starts to meet the right type of people and she really feels at home, but due to some bad news that she gets, she has to go back to Ireland to be with her family. I'm sorry if you hear my dogs barking in the background. And she struggles with deciding if she should stay in Ireland or move back to New York. And it's kind of like she has these two separate identities. She can't decide which one is the real her or if they can both coexist at the same time. And it's really great movie. It is a little bit sad, but it's like a happy sad, and there is romance in it. I love the romance between the two characters in this film. I think it's really sweet and fresh and genuine. It doesn't feel forced or anything, and it's a really good movie. I really recommend it. My dad also loves it, so it has this seal of approval from my dad. Okay, the next movie genre is the film bro movie genre. Now this one was a little bit hard to pick a movie for because I don't like film bro movies. I think they are boring and overhyped. I especially hate the movie Inception. I think it is absolutely horrible. I've never seen a Quentin Tarantino movie and I probably never will. But with all of that aside, the movie I have picked is Goodfellas. And I don't know if this is the typical film bro type movie, but the only people I know who like this movie are definitely really into film. But I watched this movie for the first time in the summer with my brother and my boyfriend, and I actually really enjoyed it. It is the true story of Henry Hill and how he grows up and joins this mob and has to do all of these dangerous, illegal activities, and he's not a great person at all. He is unfaithful to his family and his wife. He obviously is very violent, and I really enjoyed it, surprisingly, despite all of this. I think because the fact that it is a true story that makes it more likable for me. And I really hated the main character. I thought he was awful, but I was rooting for his wife the whole entire time, so I found that enjoyable because I wanted her to get her revenge. So if you're looking for a very fast-paced action movie with crime and things like that, then I do recommend this film bro movie. Okay, moving on to the next genre, it is my early 2000s slumber party movie genre recommendation. Let me just set the scene. You're having sleepover with your girls, you know, it's getting late, but you guys want to put on a movie and you want it to be fun. You want it to be something you don't have to pay too much attention to, but you just want to be entertained. You want to see some good drama, you want to see some good fashion, and you want it to be something that you've seen before, so you know that you already love it. What movie are you putting on? 13 going on 30, 100%. This is the ultimate slumber party movie. You guys, I'm sure you already know the plot, so I don't have to go into too much detail about it, but if you love fashion, romance, and drama, this is, of course, the movie you should be putting on at your sleepover. It is incredible. You can't beat the montage when she's getting ready for the party. That is like one of my all-time favorites. It is so great, and the fashion in this movie is incredible. Alright, moving on to this next genre, which I am calling 2012 to 2015-ish YA book to sci-fi movie adaptation. And these are all incredible. These are all so fun to watch. I've rewatched them all so many times, as I'm sure you all have as well. And it is hard to pick, but the movie recommendation I have chosen is The Maze Runner. Overall, I think this is the most solid, complete series of movies. I think that the characters are very well written. They have backstory and everything, so I found that I actually cared about all of them. With some of the other movies in this genre, I didn't really care about the characters or what happened to them. I love Newt. I don't want to spoil anything, but in the third movie, my heart really broke, even though I knew it was coming because I read the books. But I just think it's so good, especially the first movie. I love an underdog story. I love like the unlikely character rising to the occasion, and of course that is what happens in this movie. I think it's overall really good. The romance is not my favorite. I really don't like Teresa. She kind of annoys me. She's a backstabber. She's a traitor. So if you do want a movie with more romance, I do recommend Divergent, the first one only though, because the tension between those two characters is incredible. That's probably my favorite romance in this genre, but overall movie with the best action and entertainment and everything, it has to be the Maze Runner series. Alright, this next genre I am calling quirky / impress your indie friends movie genre. So do you have friends that are just obsessed with Wes Anderson movies and things like that? The movie that I recommend for this genre is Jojo Rabbit. It is one of my favorite movies. I love it. It is about a young boy during World War II. He is part of the Hitler Youth group, and he has an imaginary best friend who is Hitler. And you would think that that would just be terrible. That sounds like the worst plot in the entire world. Why would I ever want to watch that? But it is actually so heartwarming and hilarious and funny, because obviously this little boy is like 10, so the real Hitler is not his imaginary best friend. It is what a 10-year-old would think Hitler would be. So he has the imagination of a 10-year-old. And all at the same time while this is happening, his mom is hiding a young Jewish girl in their attic. So eventually the two discover each other, and this young boy realizes that he does not really want to be a part of the Hitler Youth anymore. And it is such a heartwarming story. I really, really love it. It is incredibly sad, incredibly funny. It's so sweet. The little boy is adorable, and just the way that he realizes his wrongs and he really grows to care and love for this girl that his mom has been hiding is so sweet. I really recommend it. I don't know how this movie made, that circumstance funny and heartwarming, but somehow it did, and I love it, and I recommend it so, so much. Okay, this next genre is sad movie genre. If you're ever in the mood for a movie that will make you feel an endless deep sadness, one that will make you cry even after the movie is over, of course it has to be Perks of Being a Wallflower. That movie has such a deep, special place in my heart, as I think it does for most people. Most of you already know the plot, so I won't go into too much detail, but basically it follows Charlie, a young boy entering high school who has a really hard time finding who he is and making friends, and eventually he joins this group of friends who are misfits and call themselves the Wallflowers, and it's so, so incredible. I wish there were more movies like this. If you guys know any movies that are similar, please recommend them to me, because I adore this movie so much. I remember the first time I watched it, I think I was 12, and I just cried the whole night. And I didn't have a reason why, because the movie was over. It's just, you just feel so bad for Charlie, and some of the situations he's been in, with trouble making friends and feeling so alone at school and stuff, it's so relatable, and you just want to reach out and hug him the entire movie. It is so, so incredible. It has a really great cast too, and yeah, please watch it if you haven't. It is amazing. Alright, and here we are at my last recommendation. It is for the genre revenge, and there are some really great movies in this genre. The one that I am choosing for today is A Promising Young Woman. Of course, I really love this movie. I remember I saw the trailer for it before it came out, maybe even 2 years ago, and it completely undersells how incredible this movie is. It is genius. The casting is incredible. If you've seen the trailer and you're confused about what it's about and it really doesn't seem interesting to you, I challenge you to watch the movie, because the trailer is very different than what the actual movie is like. It follows a young woman whose best friend was sadly SA'd in her time in college, and as revenge, her friend goes to bars every night, acts drunk, and a nice guy will always try to take care of her, and she teaches them a lesson. That's kind of the premise, but there's much more to this. She eventually starts a relationship with one of these guys, and she has a hard time with her parents, and she's doing all these other schemes in the background that are much darker than you would think they would be, and it is so, so good. It's funny, it really makes you think, and it is just, I love the aesthetic it has with this girly pink colorful candy aesthetic, while also, you know, talking about such dark and serious topics. It is really, really great watch, and I really recommend it. Those are all my movie recommendations for today. Thank you so much if you watched all of them, and if you do see any of these movies, please let me know what you think about them, and if you have any recommendations for me, leave them below. Thank you.